Hello, and welcome to The Professional Artist. Have you ever thought about when you were a kid? What kind of things did you like to draw? And how has that impacted what you draw now? Um, I was thinking back to what I liked to draw when I was a kid. And if you saw the pages that I drew when I was in middle school, you probably wouldn't be too surprised. Uh, if those of you that don't know the type of work that I do, I'm primarily an advertising illustrator, so I do a lot of advertising work. But a lot of my personal work actually is I do a lot of erotic art, including a lot of I do a lot of tasteful erotic art. I love to draw beautiful women because I believe that erotic art can be tasteful and beautiful. And I think that women are just inherently beautiful and strong. And my women are known to be just strong and gorgeous. And even when they're chained up or or nude or whatever, they're just strong and gorgeous. And they And I look back to what I used to draw when I was in middle school, and I drew a lot of naked women in my middle school homework and in the pages that I did, and I used to draw a lot of string bikinis and see how many tiny little string bikinis that I could draw that it would like how small could I design them? How small could I make them? Could I could I do one string that would cover like absolutely everything? And I'm pretty sure I don't know why I didn't end up becoming like a bikini designer nowadays, honestly. Mostly so I wouldn't end up in detention. Um, and anyway, so flash forward to nowadays, and I still pretty much draw a lot of nude women with this very bits of drapery covering this and that. And that's just what I enjoy drawing. But you wouldn't think, when you look back at pieces, they weren't raunchy. They weren't sexualized. Like women with big tits hanging out, looking like they were uh, um, sexualized, like objectified women. This is never what I. This is never what I was interested in drawing. It wasn't like I wasn't drawing like a bunch of TNA or anything like that. It's just I never thought of it as that. This just never occurred to me to do that. I draw them sexy, like the same way I draw like cats sexy or roses sexy or lamps sexy. I'm an Art Nouveau artist. My lines are all my lines are sexy. I mean, branches are sexy. When I draw a tree, it's sexy. All the lines are just they're just sexy lines. And so I'm interested about think about what you used to draw when you were a young artist, and how that's impacted what you draw nowadays. And I was thinking about, I wondered what Rembrandt used to draw like when he was like a young lad, and what is Norman Rockwell, what did he draw? Did he draw like you know modern life around him? And what did David Merriam, did he draw like castles and things? And what it's just interesting. And when at what point in our life do we start to think about what are we drawn to, and how much does that stick with us when we get older? So that was pretty early ingrained in my life, um, as to what I liked. And that's pretty much followed me through my whole career. So even though I went on to draw a lot of advertising illustration, I went on to do role playing games for a long time. And all through my role playing game career, I was told to cover the nipples. Inevitably, it was just pretty much the number one comments that I get back from art directors are, Echo, can you cover the nipples? Echo, can you cover the nipples? Echo, why does this have nipples? Echo, can even the Bellagio in Las Vegas, they had me do a sexy piece for Las Vegas, and they wanted me to to make her shirt cover the nipples. And I was like, oh, really? This is the Bellagio of Las Vegas. Of all people, they want me to cover the nipples because, uh, um, you think they'd want nipples in Las Vegas, and no, no, her shirt was too sheer, no nipples, no nipples. I'm like, I always thought the human form was just gorgeous, and I I think it's my job as an artist to normalize that more. And so I've always just pushed that envelope a little bit. So when COVID came around, I was excited to. I had a little bit of extra time, and so I decided to finally start up my Patreon and go ahead and start working on some of my erotic art. So I've had a Patreon for a long time, but I'd never actually done anything with it because I didn't want my Patreon to become a job. I was always afraid that I would get busy with other jobs because I'm always busy with other jobs. I always get too much work to do, and I mean, God, always have so many jobs. But finally, with COVID, it's the first time that I actually had a little bit of breathing room, um, and so I never started the Patreon because I never wanted to feel like, oh, I gotta do the Patreon stuff. Oh, I gotta do the Patreon stuff. And so I never actually started to do to started my Patreon until I got to the point where I could sit down and formulate something that would be fun. And so I was like, I'm gonna do an erotic Patreon where I can actually explore erotic art and just take my time and do something that's fun. And the good thing about it being a Patreon is I could do the erotic art and I could kind of keep it behind that paywall because I understand that erotic art is not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. That's totally okay. Um, because what is exactly erotic art? Um, what makes it erotic? For some people, erotic art is the swimsuit section of the Sears catalog. I remember uh, when I was in junior high, they'd get the swimsuit catalog for Sports Illustrated, and all the boys would be like, "Oh my God, it's a swimsuit catalog! Oh my God, it's a swimsuit issue! That's so sexy! It's so sexy!" It was like, so you know, so what defines erotic exactly? That 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 varies per person. It's interesting to see when people come into my gallery. Some people peer into my gallery and they're just like, oh, oh my God, oh my God. It's so erotic, and they just almost, keel over dead because it's so sexy. And I don't even keep the super sexy stuff up front. And then other people just come in and they just treat it totally normal. So it very much varies per person. Um, I define erotic as uh, um, more nudity that shows emotion. Pure nudity to me is not really erotic. If you just have a nude, that's like, my nude pieces where you just have like a reclining nude or a woman without a shirt on, just nude. That to me is not really per se erotic. That's just, that's a nude, and they're beautiful. They're nude. That's great. That's lovely. A beautiful reclining nude is beautiful. It's tasteful. It's lovely. I mean, that's the sort of thing I drew in middle school. It's gorgeous. It's not, but to me, it's not erotic. I mean, a little bit erotic, maybe, but not that's like, that's sensual. That's a little bit, that's sexual, I guess, a little bit, but not erotic. I mean, that's like kind of on the edge of the line to me. And this is what my Patreon's about: is defining what is erotic and what's not erotic. Um, Erotic to me is when you start to get into more, uh, you know, emotion. I mean, if you have like I have a piece that's called In Too Deep, where you have these two lesbian mermaids, and they're swimming, and their breasts are pressed against each other in such a manner that one of the things that people love about my work is I understand how the female form works, and their breasts are pressed against each other, and they're embracing, and they're pressed in such a way that like women understand. They're soft, and they're pressed in such a soft way against each other that they actually press up, and you can tell their boobs are soft and pressed, and they they're they're pressed properly, not like gross or comic booky or whatever. They're soft, and they're how it feels. And if you're a woman, you know how that feels. I mean, you have breasts. I mean, that's how breasts feel when they press against something. And that's the benefit of being a woman and having breasts. You know how breasts feel when they press against something, and you know how they feel when they press against another woman's breasts. I mean, they feel like that. And um and and um that to me is erotic. And how fingers like intertwine with like another woman's fingers. I mean, that's erotic, and I love exploring that in my work. That just the way it touches, and they have their tails, the way they twine, and it's just a kiss. I mean, it's not, and then there's a point on the other end where it's like it's too much, where if you were to have them, doing have the characters doing too much, and it gets into the realm of pornographic. That's not really my cup of tea. I don't really get into the pornographic stuff. I don't really like to do art that, where you can, see my house from here, where you're like, whoa, too much information. That's not really what I do per se. I like erotic art where it's sensual and it's beautiful, and there's those curves and things, just gorgeous lines and Art Nouveau and things. You can see how the breasts press, but not with like the gross things and the you know I don't usually do any of the nethery regions and things like that, or there's some really weird stuff out there, just because it's just too base. I'd prefer to like hint at things. I love symbolism. I mean, I love some phallic symbolism. I mean, I could do some really, if I'm gonna hint at some really things on the really base other end of things, I'm going to do it with symbolism, because you can really get into the depths of things, but do it with symbolism. I mean, then you could really get into the meat of things without saying things. I mean, that's how you do it craftily. I mean, that just takes, oh yeah, you can get, that you can tell a story with symbolism. That's just that no, that takes some art right there. And, that's what I love doing in my Patreon so much. But there's a fine line. You don't need to see everything, but you can tell the whole story with that. But anyway, yeah, but so that's what I started doing with my Patreon. But then I got to the point where I was thinking, I was thinking I'd really love to illustrate a book that has been my favorite book since I was in high school. When I was taking Latin in high school because I was thinking of becoming a surgeon. Um, and I was running on the ambulance when I got my EMT license when I was 14, which is the youngest in the U.S. I had to get a waiver to get my license. My high school had a program that was through the Boy Scouts, through the Explorers, and they had actually the ambulance corps was volunteer ambulance corps was right next to the high school, and it wasn't a very big town, and you could get your EMT through the community college, and they had the teachers, some of the teachers would work in the ambulance, and then some of the high schoolers would get their EMT licenses and would have pagers, and you'd have to wear your uniform during the day, and you'd be able to leave school when you were on call and actually go to ambulance calls during the day. And that was pretty cool. And both my parents would run on the ambulance as well, and so I was doing that, and I wanted to do it when I was younger than 16. You had to be 16 to get your EMT, and so I got my waiver so I could do it when I was 14, and that's an emergency medical technician for those of you that don't know. And so I got my license to do that. And so then I would go to ambulance calls in the middle of the night with my parents, and then I would sometimes we would take the ambulance and park it in the front of our lawn and go in calls in the middle of the night. And then during school I would leave and go in calls during the day. And then I would go to art classes during school as well. And then I would go off to community college during the day. After school, I would actually leave school early to go to the community college to take art classes because my art classes in my high school were pretty poor. So I would actually got another waiver so I could leave school early so I could go off and take community college classes to take um, art classes because they only had like one art class at my community college. So my high school art teacher would actually sign me out of school early, so I could go and take community college classes there. And then so here I am leaving to go to car crashes in the middle of the night, to go to ambulance calls, and then I'd go to school in the morning, and then I would go leave early to go drive to go to community college to go to take art classes, and then I would go to life drawing over in Hartford to go do life drawing at a different community college, and then I'd come home and do my homework in the farm, and then I would go at night to go and go to more car crashes and stuff. I was kind of a crazy teenager. Anyway, so I was taking Latin just in case I wanted to go be a surgeon, but I was kind of forgetful ultimately when it came down to it. Like I was always losing my car keys, and I ultimately figured that was probably not a very good trait for a surgeon to lose your car keys. So we figured, maybe when it came down to it, losing your car keys a lot was not a good trait for a surgeon, so I should go into art. So I went into art instead, and I decided I wanted to go into art, and I wanted to go to New York City for art because I went to so I say, and ultimately I ended up going to Pratt. And that's a completely different story. But my Latin teacher, back to the Latin teacher. So I went in and I was taking Latin, and my Latin teacher, she was an older lady. She was she would Mrs. Sullivan. She came up to me one day and she said, "I have this book that I think you'd really like." And she said she handed it to me, and it was this black book, and it was called Maya, and it was by the author Richard Adams, who's the author of Watership Down, and that's the book with all the bunnies in it. If you guys have ever seen the movie or read the book with all the bunnies, they have to go and move from one warren to the next because it's going to get bulldozed down so they can build condominiums, and it's all it's a really good book. It's really good. If you haven't read it, you should read it. The movie is kind of gruesome actually, but it's a really really good book. He's an awesome author, and he's awesome in Maya as well. Maya is not one of his more known books, but it's just he just writes so well. Even and in Maya, one of the things I like about it is he writes it so well. Even though it's an erotic novel, he writes the way I do my art. He writes it erotic, but he doesn't get to that point where it's just raunchy. He just has that way of balancing it where it's erotic but not gross. And and it's just fantastic. And she gave it to me saying, she said, "I think you really like it." And I used to draw in class. This was back in the time when you had you had the books. All your books were you take the what do you call them, um, the bags, the grocery bags, paper grocery bags, and you would cover the books with those, and then you draw all over them. So I would always drawing dragons and sexy dragons, and with sexy lines and all sexy ladies and everything all over them. And I guess that's why she thought I would like it. And I suppose if nowadays, your Latin slash English teacher gave a 15-year-old an erotic novel, it would probably frowned upon, but I don't even think I showed it to my parents. I think I just, went back and sat in the cornfield and read it. And I just, it's about this heroine who's sold into slavery in this kingdom, this fantasy kingdom, and she becomes a bed slave, and she just goes into and she becomes like the savior of this kingdom, and she's not even like the smartest girl. She's actually kind of daft, and she's best friends with this other girl that she meets along the way, who actually is very smart. And it's just, just something about it. It's just the way he writes. I loved it, and I loved it, and it's the only book I've kept pretty much my whole life. And so anyway, so during COVID, I was thinking, I'd really love to illustrate this book, but it's never going to be one of those books that they just make, that they republish. It was written in the 80s, and I thought I'd love to, I would love to do that. And then I remembered, wait a minute, you're a successful professional artist. Why don't you do that? And so I contacted the licensing agent for the family of Richard Adams. He's deceased. He died a couple years ago. And I actually put together a bunch of illustrations before I contacted them of how exactly I would illustrate it. Before I wrote to them, I figured out, well, what would I do? How would I illustrate it? What style would I use? What would it look like? What would this be? What would it look like? How would I do it? What would I be doing? What would I do? And I contacted them, and the licensing agent got back to me, and she said, yeah, actually the family would be interested. And she said that they are actually his daughters are actually, very they're very picky, actually, because they're very protective of their father's works. And the eldest daughter, and I'm permitted to actually say this, the eldest daughter actually said that she thinks that her father would be, would would be very, very proud. What exactly did you say? Very proud of, you know, or very pleased of what, I've done with his book, of what I'm doing with his book. That he'd really, really like what I'm doing with it, and that's really cool. And that's really, really cool. And I wish you could see it. I wish he was still alive. And so, so I have, so I'm doing 105 different chapter headers. And those of you that are on the YouTube can actually see it. I can show you. I have, see, there's 105 of these black and white. I chose, now since I'm doing this, and I actually negotiated exactly what I want to do, and I negotiated full creative control over it because this is my project and I want to do it the way I want to do it. There's 105 chapter headers that are in black and white with gold because I love black and white and gold. And so I'm doing all my pen and inks just the way that I want to do them. And I want to do them in black and white. My career, I started off doing all black and white artwork. And I love working in pen and ink. That's where I started my career. And I could do them in color, but there's something so magical about black and white. You can't cheat with it. You can't fake it. And so all the black and white interiors are all pen and ink. And I actually do some of them. I do them digital, and then I go black and white. I get a pen and ink just to get them exactly the way I want them. And then they're going to be printed with gold ink on the inside. And then, because everyone loves my colors, I'm doing gold color plates of the characters that are in my full Art Nouveau style. There's a lot of chapter headers, but I love how they came out, and they're sexy. And then I have the cover here, which is going to have gold foil, and it's going to be stamp embossed too. And if you can see it, if you're on the YouTube, and you can go to echochernik.com um, slash pages slash Maya. And then I'm going to have the black and white and gold illustrative plates as well. And those are going to be the illustrated plates, and some of them get pretty sexy. And the current one actually is the one with the orgy scene. That won an award for in that won an award. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that one in a minute. But then I have the color plates, which are all Art Nouveau full color plates of the sexy characters. Because everyone loves my Art Nouveau sexy women. And I wanted to some of them I had to redo, like the one of Ocula. I had to make sure that she was perfect. She's the other main character, and she's the only black character in the whole book, and I had to make sure she had the right look. I think I redid Ocula like 6 times because she had to be strong. She had to look strong. She kept coming out too sexy, and I was like, she can look sexy, but she had to look sexy and strong. I'm like, she still looks too sexy. She has to look sexy and strong. She didn't look strong enough. So, and then we just got the actual like blank book in, which with the gold gilded edges in, and it's just so cool. This book is huge, and it's got it's gonna have like vellum. I love vellum. It's gonna have these vellum, these like clear vellum over them, and then it's got the actual cover on it. And they sent us what the actual book is going to look like, and then it's got this clamshell, in which it's going to have gold, like embossed gold all around it, and the book is going to go in this clamshell case. And we're doing a run of 1,000 of them, and I always sound that 1,000 always sounds like such a big number to me until I realized how many people there are in the world and how many things there are. And then I realized that's not very many at all. And I'm like, there's only ever going to be 1,000 of these books. And I'm like, that's so few. That's so few. That's so few books. It's like, there's only 1,000 in the whole world. I'm like, it just when I was a kid, 1,000 seemed like such a big number, and now, if you want to go find if you want to go buy something nowadays, you just look and you're like, I'm like, I want to buy. There's only 1,000. You go get in a line to buy something like Dragon Con or something. You're like, oh, there's 1,000 tickets, and you're like, oh, that sounds like so many, and it's like sold out in like an instant. You're like, I thought there was 1,000. Oh, there was. It only went to that street corner. It's like, oh my god, it's sold out. It's like, so, okay, I thought there was 1,000. Yeah, that sold out in like 20 seconds. And you're like, wait, how did 1,000 of them sell out in 20 seconds? Like, how did that happen? How many people are there in like trying to get them? Oh, 20,000. Like, what? So, like, oh my god. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. This is nuts. I'm like, wait, are we printing enough of these? But I could have printed as many or as few as I wanted to. I chose to do just the limited edition of 1,000, and honestly, I don't even care if they sell. I mean, I do care, but but I'm like, it's my chance to make my dream project, and that's just cool. I get to make this thing, this thing that I've loved since I was a kid, and maybe I won't even sell them. I'll just be like, no, you don't get any of them. I'm just gonna keep them all. I'm gonna keep them all. I'm gonna cancel the Kickstarter and put them all in my closet. You don't get any of them. I'm just kidding. No, seriously. No, never mind. Heck, I'm not gonna launch them on Tuesday. You don't get any of them. I'm just gonna keep them in my closet. So now, anyway, we're gonna have the Kickstarter is gonna launch on Tuesday. I'm actually gonna do the 4-edge paintings where you paint like a scene. Do you see the thickness of this book? Ah, my God, it's so huge. I'm gonna do like paintings on the edge of the sucker of like, of like a scene on the edge of them. I've already sold like 10 of them where you paint like on the edge of them. And that's a lot of paintings. I just realized how many paintings that is. And I'm going to be painting scenes on the edge of the books. I'm going to be doing that for a while, I think. So, but I'm going to be, yeah, so I'm going to be launching the Kickstarter for these on Tuesday. Um, and I'm really excited about this. I mean, it's we launch Kickstarters all the time and stuff like that, and it's just this is a book I've had since I was like 15 years old. I mean, how often do you get to like do your dream thing? I mean, so anyway, so I wanted to have more time to like talk about the symbolism in all these pieces. I have like each of these headers I put like a lot of each of these pieces headers and stuff. I put a lot of symbolism into all of my pieces. Oh, the cur, I said I'd go back to that one. Oh, so anyway, I'll talk about this one. This is the Kura piece. For those of you that I can't see because you're on the public radio, I will describe it using nothing but the power of my tongue. The Kura one it's got a man, and he's sort of a darker gray, and he's holding a woman. He's got like his hand holding her, and he's dipping her back, like holding her completely and under the hips and in completely in the air, and he's dipping her back and holding her other hand, and she's being dipped down towards a pile of pillows, and she's smiling, and she's got her other hand on his calf, and she's got all these gold flowers in her hair, like foil gold flowers, not like yellow gold flowers. And the third color is just foil gold. And in the background, there's all these pillows, and she's got just a gold foil thin belt around her waist with sheaves of corn. And in the front, there's these two foil figures uh, of like women that are licking this candle very phallically. They're part of the frame. And there's in the corner in the top, there's a woman reclining on this moon. And then there's these, um, um, what do you call them? Lanterns up in the corner. And so her name is Odavis, and she's actually doing this like public dance called the Kura. And in this scene specifically, this is actually an orgy scene in the book. And Maya, our main character, who is a slave girl, is brought here to the scene. And specifically, it is an orgy scene. And the way he describes it is that that Odavis gets, basically everybody is throwing these pillows up onto the stage to vote for the slave girl who's the most popular, and then she's going to go up onto the stage, and whoever wins, and they're going to perform this sex act, this kura, and she's going to get her freedom, and she's going to win a bunch of money, and then it's basically the whole thing is going to devolve into this Roman orgy thing. And and Maya's kind of like a little bit aghast at this. She's only really had sex like with one lover before she was sold into slavery, and she's like, oh my god, I can't imagine having sex in public. That's the whole idea of it's just sort of like, what, this is kind of grotesque, and I can't imagine that. And she's here with the person she was sold into slavery with to, which is Sencho, which is this very overweight, gross Roman-esque leader. And she's kind of like, the idea of having sex in public is kind of just, but she comes to a realization watching Odavis making a big scene about this. Odavis is basically making a fun play of it. She's just like, she brings the guy up, and the guy is basically just a fixture that Odavis has chosen to be her partner. And Odavis is she makes basically a play of it, and and she sort of makes a dance of it, a big performance of it. And she makes a performance, and she's dancing around, and she just sort of she bumps into the guy, and she gets surprised by his maleness, and she's like, oh my goodness, where did that come from? And she's making like a big surprise thing and making everybody laugh, and she's having fun with it. And Maya realizes and finds herself laughing and realizes, oh, oh, she's having fun with it. Oh, she's actually like making a show of it. She's making a spectacle. Oh, she's having a good time. And it's not about the whole like, practice of it. She's actually like, it's a performance thing, and she comes to an understanding of it. So for me to show it as just like a big sex scene wouldn't do Richard Adams' portrayal of it justice. So for me to show them just kind of going at it in the scene wouldn't do it right. And so when I illustrated this, I specifically needed to show her having fun, and I have all the pillows around. And so for this, I needed to shoot like her hand the way I have Otis holding his hand as a dancer pose. It's not actually a real handhold for dancers. I have her hand in his in a way that you wouldn't actually, as my dancer friend says, um, isn't actually an actual hold. Like her hand is sort of in his in a manner that isn't, is not really conducive. She would normally be holding his hand equally, like wrist or holding his wrist in such a manner. But I wanted her like steering his hand. So I actually had to shoot. That's my hand with my friend. I had to shoot reference in such a manner that she's like in charge. I wanted him dropped back and in shadow in such a manner that he's really nothing more than like a statue, and she's totally in light because he's nothing more than just an instrument. She's in full light, and she's steering the situation, and she's in charge, and she's in charge of the show, and she's steering him the way she's holding the hand, and she's having fun and steering him and in charge. And the way that Maya is seeing her, having fun, and he's lowering her into the pillows, but she's in charge of everything. And so I had to be true to, his work, and it being sexy and it being an orgy, but without being about an orgy the same way. And later on, there's another piece called Maya Searching that shows more of the orgy, but it doesn't show the whole, just focusing in on the orgy, because that's not really the way. He's not focusing in on the orgy. He's focusing in on Maya looking for the person that ran off into the orgy, because that's what it's showing, the story, not about, the sex scenes and stuff. So I really tried to, I'm focusing on the story, not about, everything else is happening around her. So I'm trying to go by Maya's perspective, and it's deeper than just the erotic stuff, which I think is what's important about it. What makes it evolved? What makes it more? What makes it evolved? What makes it deeper? What makes it evolved? What makes it more than just an erotic, porny sort of book? What makes it like, leveled up? It's not, there's an orgy going on. This is a leveled up version of, that, like in the Maya Searching one, she's looking around, and she's looking for Maris, who's run off into the crowd. Yet you can see the orgy going around. You can see the people doing these things, but you're seeing Maya looking into the crowd, and she's holding this lantern with, with this very sexy character on it, but she's glancing off into the distance while being lit by this, this sconce of, sexy character, and there's people like fornicating in the background and stuff. But it's leveling it up. That's the fun part. Anybody can draw an orgy scene. That's what I love about doing this book. It's just, you can level it up. Can you make it advanced? So anyway, if anybody has any questions, let me know. So anyway, this is my passion project. I don't know if I ever will do such a project that's such a passionate to my heart project as this one ever again. So uh I like to use a lot of animals in the project. I have, like, Don the Dallas. when they're going down the river. Instead of showing them just in a boat going down the river, I have turtles on the log, the header scene, and they're on this log floating down. Um, and for the leopard regime is the current regime. So I have a lot of leopard imagery. I often show Maya as a bird. I have a lot of canaries and birds and flowers and stuff. It gives me a lot of chances to really bring in a lot of the Art Nouveau elements, a lot of the chains and um, and and flowers and clouds and stuff that I specialize in. I really love to work in a lot of the Art Nouveau stuff. A lot of hair, a lot of flowing gold hair. All of my gold in the background, for those of you that are illustrators and stuff, I prepared the gold in the backgrounds of this is one color ink, so that it is just one color, but that's it's dropped back to white, so that when they're going to print it, it's just going to go from white to solid gold. So it's automatically prepped for the printer, so that when they print it, it's just going to go from white to solid color gold. So the printer was actually quite surprised that we had it prepped properly, so that I've already screened it, so it's automatically just ready to go. So it's not different. It's not CMYK in the inside. It's just a spot color of gold, because I want to use a gold metallic ink on the inside, which makes it nice and easy for them. So I love being able to use the black character in here, do some really great gradients with her on the inside. And a lot of like this one, a little amusement. I had a good time. It shows the black girl. She's just arched backwards with all kinds of fruits and things on her body. Um, she's got all kinds of fruits and tarts and things hanging off her body, and some cherries hanging off her nipples and stuff. She's Maya's best friend. I love drawing hair and the first pages that I did, I on the Patreon, I think I spent a month trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to lay it out. If I wanted to do it in black and white and gold and black, if I wanted to do full color, if I wanted to do color with uh, with the gold, with solid gold, with if I wanted to do like with foil, exactly how I wanted to, how much detail, and talking to my patrons, they really helped me figure out exactly how much detail that I wanted to put into this. That was a lot of fun working with them. They've been really just invaluable helping me come to some of these decisions. And I couldn't have done this without them. They've been just so much help, helping me just go through and make these decisions and working with me. And from the beginning of this book, we've just been going back and forth, and I've been going on and talking with them on deciding which way to go with this, and it's just to making it an enjoyable process. It's so much more fun working with them on this. So, doing it's nice to be able to just do a project the way you want to do it and not have to have an art director. One of the things I really wanted to do, and that I negotiated with the estate, was to be able to have full creative control. They wanted to be able to sign off on things creatively, and I was like, no, I want to have full creative control. I want to be able to make the final call on everything. And they wanted to sign off on the art, and I was like, no, either you trust me that I know what I'm doing and that you've seen my work, either you like it and you sign out and you trust me that I will do your father's work justice, or you don't. You trust me to do it, or you don't. And they finally agreed that yes, we do trust you. If you presented what you're going to do, and we trust you. And yeah, so I'm I'm excited. So this is gonna be cool. So Hey, Adian. So it says, Aiden says, my wife has one of your Maya works on our wall. It's the centerpiece of our entire living room. I'm excited. Yeah, and I'm gonna have the black and white inks available too. Like I said, some of them I do digital, and then I finish the black and white ink, so I have some of them here, so I have them available too for sale. Some of them are available, some of them are sold, some of them, a couple I don't want to sell yet because I like them. So yeah, but the can't believe it's almost done. I have a few more chapter headers I have to finish. I think like 4. I can't believe it's like down to 4. I just have to quite finish it. And uh and yeah, we launched it, and then we're gonna relaunch it on Tuesday. We had to make some final edits and work with a publisher that wanted to make some changes to stuff and help out with it. And so yeah. So you guys have any questions before I go? I think I'll probably keep doing erotic art, forever. I just love doing sexy art. I like doing cats with my women too. And you've got the Sixth World Almanac on your wall too. Yeah, I do. I do such a wide variety of pieces. I mean, God. We should see the giant scroll I did for Gen Con this year. You going to be at Gen Con this year? They better have it there. I hope they have the giant scroll done for Gen Con. Oh, you'll be at Dragon Con. Cool. Hopefully we'll have some of the giant scrolls for Dragon Con too. So, but yeah, it's going to be yeah, so I will see you at Dragon Con for sure. But I'll be at Gen Con and Dragon Con. And yay! Yeah, we'll be at Dragon Con, we'll be at Gen Con, and I'm not going to be at San Diego Comic Con, but Laz and Kat will be at San Diego. I have a big project I have to finish, so I'm actually not going to San Diego this year, believe it or not. So how weird is that, right? But but I will be here before, but I will be at Gen Con for sure, which I'm really excited about because we have a big project for Shadowrun coming out, which is super cool. So, and then I have to finish Maya because I have a few pieces I've got to finish for Maya because I've got to get to the printer in August, which means I've got to finish 4 chapter headers and an interior piece and get that to the printers so that I can get out. And yeah, and I got this book is just this thing is just look at that, it's so gorgeous. Look at the size of that. You could smash so many bugs with that. I'm just kidding. Do not smash bugs with this. The size of this book is so huge. I can't believe how big this book is. Oh my gosh. So, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, I started broadcasting a little bit late today. We had some technical difficulties, but that's okay. Technical difficulties happen. I know. Isn't that the most gorgeous presentation copy? And I have the clamshell. Look at the clamshell of this. It doesn't have the gold printing on it, but it's going to have that gold foil printing on it, and it opens like this. So it goes right in there. Goes right. It goes right in there like that too. Let's see if I can get this in here. Hold on. Look at that. Isn't that great? You see that? It's going to have that gold foil with her hair wrapping around it. And it's gonna have the gold hair. Oh my god, this thing is gonna be just oh my god. And it's like and it's a lot less on the Kickstarter than it's gonna be after the Kickstarter. I think it's $2.99 on the Kickstarter and 4, so I should know this. I love this to my husband. 4.50, $4.99 on after. So left it up to the people. So yes, you need to come by, stop by. So all right. Well, thank you for joining me, everybody. And go to echochernick.com, and you can get to all the links that you need to get to everywhere you need to. And thanks for coming by and say hi. And I will see some of you at Gen Con, and I will see some of you at Dragon Con. And next week we'll have Nigel Saad on here, and he travels like all over the place to, to go to shows, and he's a hoot. He has some funny stories. So I've known him forever. So we're gonna tell funny stories together. We've had some kind of crazy adventures. So he'll be on next week to talk to us and tell some funny stories and stuff. So, but cool. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.